Whenever you have an epic like Gladiator, typically it's always a must see, right? Because we know the original one was absolutely amazing, but did the second one live up to the hype as its predecessor? What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Lawrence Supports Nights broadcast discussing my review of Gladiator 2. Now, this weekend, I had a chance to see Gladiator 2, and y'all, I hate to say it. I hate to say it. If it wasn't for Denzel being in this Gladiator right here, I may would have not went to the movies to see it, if I'm being honest. I know some of y'all thinking the same thing too. But before we get started, we greatly appreciate if you guys hit that subscribe button, like, and please do not forget to comment. Let's talk about my review of Gladiator. And yes, y'all, I'm sorry, but I was not entertained.
Are you not entertained?
And I'm going to go ahead and give my review for this right here. For me, out of 10, this right here was probably a 7. We typically know that Ridley Scott usually does his things on these type films, you know, this type of franchise right here. But in comparison to the one that they had 20 plus years ago, I think, unfortunately for Ridley, he may have missed the mark on this Gladiator 2. But also, let's give a quick overview of what this Gladiator, the second one, is truly all about. Years after witnessing the death of Maximus at the hands of his uncle, Lucius must enter the Colosseum after the powerful emperors of Rome conquer his home. With rage in his heart and the future of the empire at stake, he looks to his past to find strength, honor, and the need to return to the glory of Rome for its people. Now, I do believe this right here. It was very entertaining. I can give them that. But I felt like the story felt flat. They had great battles, you know, great action scenes. Not to mention, I felt like the musical score wasn't even there in comparison to the first one, right? So those are just, you know, how I'm feeling about it currently. If you guys like Gladiator, please comment below. But for me, it was a miss. And what in the world? Okay, so we know that this right here was more than like a big budget, right? I didn't look up the budget, but I'm pretty sure it was a big budget, right? But what was going on with the CGI of the animals, like the monkeys, the sharks? I don't know what happened right there. As far as Paul Mescal, we know he's trying to bring Rome back to, you know, the glory days and trying to stop the tyranny, you know, that they're currently facing, right? With the Colosseum and things of that nature right there. But for me, I felt like when it came to him and his story, there was just something that was missing. I just wasn't getting that oomph from him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, because he wasn't, you know, well written more the way I would want him to be, you know, as the basically the lead, basically as the hero of this big epic, of this big odyssey right here, in comparison to Russell Crowe, who I felt like basically had everything I wanted and more when it came to him being this big hero that's supposed to be, you know, the savior, right? And he was just so plain. I'm talking about Paul. He was just so plain and dull, and it just wasn't enough for me. The performance was meh. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have been better. And maybe I'm looking too deep in it. Y'all let me know. But that's just my thoughts on the lead. I do feel like this right here. I feel like Paul Pascal, you know, he did his thing. He did his thing as Lucius. No worries with him. I think they gave him a great story. But when it came to everybody else, like Pedro Pascal's character, and I'm starting to feel like Pedro, maybe it's me, I'm starting to feel like Pedro might have got miscast in this right here. I felt nothing with Pedro, if I'm being honest. Like, it was just like, oh, okay, cool, all right, yeah. I felt nothing with Pedro, and I don't know if it's because Pedro's in too many movies right now. Every time I turn around, this man's literally in an up-and-coming show or in a movie. I'm like, is there anybody else in Hollywood that y'all can hire for some of these parts? There's no disrespect to Pedro. We like Pedro, but I'm just like, is there anybody else out there, right? Denzel. Love Denzel. Denzel, for me, like I said earlier, if it wasn't for him being in this, I don't know if I would have saw this right here. I appreciate him. It seemed like he was almost the good guy at first, but then he turned bad, of course, towards the end. And I did love that fight sequence that he had at the end. I thought that that was dope. I thought that that was fire right there. So we're always going to be here for anything related to Denzel Washington. Like I said, he did his thing in this one right here. No complaints about Denzel. I love the story that they gave him. I love the character, the background, his history. I love what they did with Denzel, right? But when it came to these two right here, these two right here got on my nerves. These two guys right here, I could not stand them at all. And, you know, I don't know if it was just not only that I didn't like the character, but maybe it was just all the makeup that these dudes was wearing right here. Maybe that's what they wore. I'm pretty sure it's what they wore back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. They wore typically, you know, some eyeshadow of some sort, but that makeup, something about that makeup with those guys just completely turned me off. Like, I just could not get into focus with them. So that is my review for Gladiator. Great action. Just felt like it was just missing some lackluster development. And when I think about this Gladiator, it just did not live up to the hype to the first one versus this one right here. I think for me, this is one of those movies where it came, it went, then it left. Like, I won't be thinking about this Gladiator. Like, some movies, they typically stick with you for a while. They're like, oh man, you know, man, I still can't believe what happened. This one right here, it was a miss for me. It was a miss for me. It was just not what I thought it was going to be. Because when I saw the trailer originally, I was like, okay, this is going to be big. This is going to be epic. Somewhat of a letdown for me. But if you guys enjoyed Gladiator, comment below. Tell me your thoughts. Yeah, it was just something I can't quite figure out the piece that I'm looking for with this Gladiator. And maybe I'm doing too much comparison with the old one. I know a lot of times we tend to compare the original with the newer version, and sometimes the original cannot, you know, there's no comparison for the original. And I don't know if this is going to be continue like a spin-off of the Gladiator franchise. I don't know if we're going to get Gladiator 3, 4, and 5, but it's very well possible that that could happen. But it just didn't live up to hype, and there's only one true Gladiator. Maybe the next one they come out, maybe it will be better. Only time will tell. We will have to see. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in to the Lawrence Report.